Winter is in full swing here in our little stone cottage in the woods. I invite you guys to spend the day with me as I focus on some of the little things that bring me and my family joy on these cozy, cold days. Between taking care of my home, running a business from home, being a wife and a mother to small children, my days are definitely pretty demanding, I would say, and I definitely have to be very intentional about taking care of myself in small ways so that I can continue to rise to the occasion day after day. And one of those small things I do is add electrolytes to my water. It's such a simple thing that really goes a long way. My personal favorite brand is Element, and they are sponsoring today's video. I have shared them with you before. They are my top choice when it comes to electrolyte additives to water for a few reasons. First off, they have no sugar in their very simple formula that contains potassium, magnesium, and sodium. These key electrolytes have many different functions throughout the body, and they need to be replenished continually, especially if you are very into working out and you're sweating all the time. They need to be replenished. But I also find as a nursing mom, it makes such a big difference, not only in how I feel, like I actually feel so much more hydrated, which makes me feel more energized, but also just a little bit sharper. But I actually notice a difference in my milk supply, like on the days that I don't add Element to my water. It really does make a noticeable difference. Electrolytes are key to so many different functions, like fluid balance of your cells, clearing wastes out of your cells, energy production, DNA repair, blood glucose control. And adding them to your water is something that is so simple, yet really does make a big difference in how I feel and therefore how I'm able to show up for my day. Element's formula contains those electrolytes, but not much else. There's no sugar, there's no coloring, no fillers, nothing artificial, which I love. And if you want to try it out, Element right now is offering my viewers a free sample pack on every order. That's 8 of their single serving packets with any order, which is such a good way to try out their different flavors to figure out which one you like the best. You can get yours at drinkelement.com/Becca Bristow. This offer is only available with my link. You must go to drinklmnt.com/Becca Bristow to get yours. Welcome to a cozy winter day in our cottage, friends. My day, typical day, starts out early before the kids are up. I have shared many times through many different seasons of motherhood as I've had more children here on my channel that getting up before my kids is life-changing, and just having that quiet time in the morning to get my mind right, to fill up my cup, and really just to wake up so that when my kids wake up bouncing off the walls, I can kind of match their energy and greet them with a smile instead of waking up at the same time they do and feeling like, how am I even going to do this? So I start my day always with some Bible time. I've shared before, I'm going through the Bible in a Year podcast with Father Mike, and then I've been reading from Jesus Calling every morning. And it's just the best way to start my day slowly and with God's word, and it's just truly the best, and I actually look forward to it. I don't wake up every single day early because I still have a baby that wakes up in the night, but any day that I can, I always seize the opportunity and I never regret it. So in the morning, we had some delicious, cozy, warm oats for breakfast. I, of course, got my diffuser running with some citrus oils. You guys know lemon myrtle is my jam. And also pretty much every morning these days, we get that wood stove cranking. It's funny, when we first moved to this house, I, of course, fell in love with the wood stove that is technically in our dining room, but now that we've opened up the walls, I would consider it like in our kitchen. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just going to be like so fun and cozy to have that going. Like, so, you know, all like the romantic vibes. But turns out, because this cottage is built into a hill and our kitchen is technically on the bottom, like basement floor, and it's tile floor, it gets cold down here. So it actually is like necessary to heat the bottom floor, which I'm not complaining about because, well, A, Matt always takes care of the fire, but B, it's amazing to have that going every day. It's just the coziest, dreamiest little thing. And I love that wood stove so much. It brings us all so much joy, and we love sitting around it and warming up. The kids will kind of cozy up near it on our little piano bench and have snacks or whatever, and it's just really sweet. So I next headed out into the cold to try and collect any eggs that were in there. This time of year, especially this stretch, we've had the last couple of weeks, it's been super cold every day, and it's like a adventure to try and get out to grab any eggs before they freeze. As you can see, this one right there is frozen and they already started eating it, so I just left it for them. If you didn't know that, chickens love to eat their own eggs. It's very interesting. But they are just doing fine out here. Our chickens are very hardy and they're fine. A lot of times they hang out inside the actual coop here. We've got like a little brooder heater there to help keep them warm, but otherwise they're good. We just love our chickens. We've had them for, I guess, almost 5 years now. And just another thing that brings us joy. And obviously the days are dark and short and starting to get a teeny bit longer, which we don't really notice, but I have noticed, especially in the last week, that we've been starting to get more eggs every day, which is very exciting because they hardly lay much in the wintertime, but it's just a little signal that, okay, the days are getting a little longer and spring will come and the cold, dark days will come to an end, which spring is my absolute favorite season. So that is another thing that just brings me joy on a cold winter day. Another thing that brings me joy is making my latte. You guys know my espresso machine is my favorite appliance outside of, like a fridge and an oven. It's my absolute favorite. It's probably one of my most favorite purchases we've ever made. We use it every single day, multiple times a day. I literally almost never go to coffee shops anymore. And I can't tell you the last time I've been to a Starbucks. I feel like it just doesn't even taste nearly as good as a homemade latte. And it's so good. It's just my favorite thing in the morning. I don't even really drink coffee much for the caffeine. I just do a little bit of caffeine because I really just don't handle it well. But there's just something about that ritual. I mean, you just can't beat it. So another thing that's really bringing me joy right now in the winter, can we just all recognize that winter can be really tough? My kids have been sick the last few weeks on and off, and it's just been a really tough few weeks because we're not getting outside nearly as much. Everyone's just sick. We're a little cooped up, and I am dreaming of spring for sure. And one way that I am actively dreaming of spring is starting to plant our garden. I did not do a vegetable garden last year for the first time in a few years since I started one, I think in 2020. Because we moved, we needed to start from scratch. I had a baby in February, and I just needed to take the year off, and I'm really glad that I did, but I really, really missed it, and I'm so excited to dive back in this year. So I sat down. I always keep my notes from previous years. I just keep it in my little mom binder because it's so helpful to look back because I literally always forget. I think I'm going to remember, what actual seeds I bought and when I planted them and how they did, and I never remember, so it's super helpful to have those notes. So I went through and I looked at my previous notes and seeds that I had gotten previous years, certain veggies that I grew, and I went on and decided what I was going to get for this year. I think we're definitely going to start small this year. We're not going to go guns blazing with this massive garden, maybe just a couple beds. I don't know. We'll see. Because we do, again, have to start from scratch, which this will be now the third time because we've moved several times, but that's okay. I'm looking forward to it. And I also have a lot of flower gardening I want to start working on as well because this property has a lot of potential, but there's so much work that needs to be done. So next, I am making cinnamon buns. We have been craving cinnamon buns. I very rarely make them. I feel like they're more on a special occasion. But I knew it was going to be a snow day. My daughter, who's in school, she was off. So I knew that cinnamon buns were definitely going to happen. So the night before I started mixing up the dough, for the actual dough and the buns, I used Lisa's from Farmhouse on Boone. I used her cinnamon roll recipe. I've used hers several times. I feel like it always turns out really well. And I love the ingredients. It's just made a lot more with maple sugar or maple syrup and just a little bit more simple ingredients, a little bit less sugar, which I think is always, it's always welcome, but especially in the winter with everyone getting sick, I do try and be more conscious of that. And here's our little friend Dwight hanging out by the wood stove. He's one of our outdoor cats. I often get questions about them. They do live outside. They were barn cats at our last house because we used to live on like a farm. We don't anymore, but so now they technically live in our garage. They've got like a little heated, cozy setup in there for the winter time, but they honestly still prefer to be outside laying in the sunshine most of the time, but they do come in and warm up sometimes too. So anyway, the cinnamon buns, I use, like I said, Farmhouse on Boone's cinnamon roll recipe, but I didn't do the cream cheese icing. I tried a slightly different technique from my handmade cookbook that I've showed you guys so many times. I love that cookbook. Her method, I guess, is a little bit different. So you basically put brown sugar and a bunch of butter in whether it's a skillet or, the baking dish that you're going to use. And then you kind of nestle the cinnamon buns in the butter and the brown sugar. And then you bake it in the oven like that. And then once they're all baked and they're puffed up and golden, you take them out and then you basically like flip them over, which I was a little nervous about doing because I've never done it before. And I was like, is this just going to make a huge mess? Is it actually going to work? And it did. So you just flip them over and they're basically kind of coated in the butter and the brown sugar. So to me, this wasn't like, it didn't really taste like a cinnamon bun because I love a cream cheese frosting. And after trying these, that's still definitely my most favorite way to eat a cinnamon bun. But my family loved these. Like, I was kind of surprised because they just taste more simple. I don't know. I just like icing on a cinnamon bun. But my husband kept saying these taste like the cinnamon sugar pretzels that we get from like the Amish market, or honestly even from Annie Ann's. We used to get those back in the day. If you're in the US, I'm sure you know about Annie Ann's, but they all were like, these taste like cinnamon, like the cinnamon pretzels, honestly. And they were good, but I feel like they didn't really taste like cinnamon buns to me, but they were still delicious. And we all sat around the table and enjoyed some cinnamon buns, and that was lovely. So another thing that I worked on this day, as far as like a home project goes, I have been needing to switch out Davy. She's our youngest. She's my now 11-month-old. I have been meaning to switch out her clothes to like the next size up. We have so many hand-me-downs from the girls, and it's just one of those things that I just kept putting off, but here I am. I finally tackled it. So I washed all of the hand-me-downs for the next size up, and then I took out all of the current size that she's been wearing that are just a little too snug, and I got myself all organized. I got all of those clothes put away. I got the new size all put out, and this is one of my like favorite little, I don't know, small motherhood things, because when you pull the clothing out, you remember your older kids wearing each of those things, and it's just very nostalgic, but kind of in like a happy way. I don't know. It's one of those things that, even though I put this off because I was being lazy about it, I did actually really enjoy going through, and we like pulled out this little coat and we were all like, oh my gosh, remember when Hads wore this coat? And now Davy's wearing it. It's just really sweet. So gotta love siblings, and also being able to pass down clothing is super nice. But the last thing that I did was make a batch of granola. This is something that we've been going through a lot. My 2 toddlers, for whatever reason, are like granola obsessed right now. So we've been making a lot of granola. And I have to say, this is one of the easiest recipes to make yourself. It's also super kid friendly. You like literally cannot mess it up. They love like getting in there and stirring it and mixing it all up. But I always use the recipe, again, from that same handmade book I mentioned earlier. I'll link that below. I use so many of the recipes from that book. It's such a good one to have in your kitchen, in your cookbook collection. But it's super simple with just like coconut oil and maple syrup and cinnamon and salt and some nuts. And you just bake it in the oven at like a lower temperature. I want to say it's 275 for about like 45, 55 minutes, just until it gets nice and golden and crispy. And then I just store it in a mason jar. And that's one of my favorite like homemade swaps. It costs so much less than the granola in the store, and you can use higher quality ingredients. And again, it's a super easy one for your kids to get involved in and join you in the kitchen. I hope you guys enjoyed spending the day with me here in our cozy cottage in winter. I'm definitely looking forward to spring, but also trying to savor these cozy moments as well. If you guys are new, I would love for you to subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.